Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back, everyone, to the Battle Chads. I'm here with my co-host, Josh.
Hello.
And we're going to be talking about some very exciting stuff today. The BNR has hit. The banned and restricted announcement finally here. Long awaited. Felt like we were waiting for ages, if I'm honest with you.
I feel like I've just undone my belt after a big meal. I've been waiting for so long, relax,
Exactly.
Oh my God, it's here.
It's that great feeling, that catharsis of just what has just happened, what has just changed. I'm going to get it on screen for everyone on here now, just so we can take a look at the same time what exactly has changed. And, let's take it from there. So we are going to show you this. It is super exciting. Here we are. Okay. The banned and restricted announcement has just happened. Oh my God.
There's so much text.
There's a lot.
Usually when you have a look at these BNRs, there's one thing's changed is they've been really conservative in how they've been approaching the BNRs recently, but this one, oh my days. Oh right. So we just start from the top, Luis.
Absolutely. So we're gonna take it this way. First, we have the little boring things out of the way. Standard, no changes, as expected. Standard, super healthy. Vintage, format. No changes. Don't play it. Don't know. Sometimes stuff happens. Whatever.
Yep. Okay.
A bunch of other, arena formats: Alchemy, Historic, Timeless, Brawl, whatever. Okay.
Whatever.
Pioneer. No one thought anything was going to be touched in Pioneer. Pioneer is, been quite dead for a while. But Gigantha, the Wellspring band, great, fantastic. I hate companions. I think you do too. No one likes them. Glad it's gone.
I think that the reason for this is just to improve diversity within the format. Stopping people to play Gigantha meant that there was a payoff. It meant that cards weren't being played. I really like the reasoning behind it. Ban Gigantha, open up card pool, let people be able to brew more and innovate more.
Exactly. That's exactly it. I'm happy with that change. I'm happy they did that. Cool. Then we have Legacy. Nice little change. Psychic Frog banned. I'm sorry, Josh. I'm also very sad about that one. But we all kind of knew it was coming, but necessary.
That's okay. I'll just take my 4 frogs out of my reanimator list and put in 4 Orcish Bowmasters. I'm sure it'll be fine. I mean, it's not fine because I really wasn't on the ban Frog train in Legacy. I thought Frog was completely fine and skill intensive and a really fun card in Legacy, but whatever.
Yeah, I know you wanted more of the reanimator stuff ban instead of Frog, Entomb or something gone would have been.
I didn't want the Premier Fair card to be banned in Legacy, but whatever. The one that dies to Dark Betrayal,
dies to removal. Always a great argument.
And then Vexing Bauble was also banned in Legacy. It was there to stop the free mana stuff out of Modern, but what actually happened was it enabled the really broken stuff out of a Legacy.
Yeah, turns out Vexing Bauble was not really ever used to, let's stop the free spells going on here. Not exactly. It was used more, let me enable my BS by not having to care about your Force of Will, your days, your whatever. That stops my package, especially in the Mystic Forge, Karn package, artifact, do a billion mana kind of things. Very unhealthy card for Legacy. Glad to see it gone.
I think they did mention with this being out that they had a close eye on Nadu. I think they should have just got rid of Nadu as well. I mean, it would have meant both my Legacy decks would have been banned straight out of the format. But whatever, I don't care. I've got the card pool to fix and recock, as it were.
We had a little pool going on in the Chad Magic chat about, hey, who's gonna call the bans? I put Nadu as a ban as well because I thought it was gonna go as well. It didn't. I got all the other bans except the Pioneer one right because I didn't think they were gonna touch it.
Yeah.
But then, as Josh was about to go into, Modern. Oh baby. Right.
Wow.
Wow. These bans are exactly what I expected for the cards that got banned. The One Ring, Amped Raptor, Gigantha. Glad they're all gone. Good riddance. Don't want them. Yep. Fantastic. Everyone was expecting this. Happy to see, especially the One Ring, finally gone. It was a menace. Yep. It was destructive. Didn't need it. It was just homogenizing every single deck. It was awful. Mm-hmm. But the unbans, Josh.
Oh my.
Unbans what is the most exciting one to you between Mox Opal, Green Sun Zenith, Faithless Looting, and Splinter Twin?
Faithless Looting, 100 and bazillion% Faithless Looting, mate. Can I tell you my bad beat story with Faithless Looting? Not my bad beat, but my bad feeling story with Faithless Looting.
Go for it. I know you were an avid Dredge player.
So back in 2018 when Hogak was a thing. Was it 2018?
It was 2019.
2019. So during Hogak summer, I anticipated that Hogak was going to get banned, and I really wanted to play Mardu, Pyromancer.
Yeah,
obviously played. It was a fairer modern deck that played Looting. So I got all the deck ahead of the game. Right, Hogak's going to go next week. I'm going to just get back into the Faithless Looting. I love Faithless Looting. I love that card. I love like playing with the graveyard, my dredge lists, etc. Hogak gets banned, and Faithless Looting gets banned. So Mardu Pyromancer just gets killed right there.
Yeah.
So
yeah. I was so
that
sad.
was a bad beat story.
However,
I did. However, the next week, I did actually attend a tournament in South Manchester at forget the name of the game store.
South Manchester, Manaleak?
No, that's Birmingham.
That's Birmingham. Sorry,
Anyway, I was there. It was like a 30-player modern event. Everyone got rid of Graveyard, hate out the sideboard, and I took Dredge, and Dredge was still good because it had other tools, and I won the entire tournament with Dredge, and it was amazing. But I still got a bad beat from making a new deck and then instantly getting banned, thinking I was a smart little boy getting ahead of it. But this is the opposite now because I can play it now. It's back in my format, Luis.
Yeah. So I mean, anyone who knows me will have heard my stories of how when I began my modern MTG journey, it was Faithless Looting.
Element Games, by the way.
Element Games, that was it. Okay, Element Games. Was Faithless Looting. 2018, I went to GP Liverpool. I ended up getting 10th place with my teammates, Ryan Jordan and Kurt Sinnott. Old, I haven't seen them in ages. They haven't played in a long time. Missed them very much. And it was just an amazing experience, right? I was playing Modern, completely new as a very, very young Magic player. I had been playing Magic for less than 6 months, realistically speaking, and was getting my butt handed to me by Chalice of the Void, round 2 against Eldrazi-Tron that I didn't even know existed, round 3 maybe. And but overall it was a great time. Faithless Looting was my baby. It was my card. It did everything I wanted and more. I continued playing this deck after that, and I think I was the most winning player ever at Just Play with this deck. I had an incredible win rate, and I loved it. And then Hogak came to be. It ruined everything. Hogak was destroying, everyone and everything. Like you were saying, Hogak Summer, and Hogak got banned along with Faithless Looting. I was devastated because I never saw that coming, but I probably should have. And since then, I've grown as a Magic player. I've gotten a lot better, do different things, all that, et cetera, et cetera. And now Faithless Looting is back. It's back. Like, that's incredible. I get to now enjoy one of my favorite cards ever as a much better Magic player, hopefully. And it's just, it feels so good. It feels amazing.
Do you know what you're doing right now? You're encapsulating why this unbanning was amazing. Because you're taking what you remember from Modern of old, like people back in 2016 before Splinter Sin was banned, they thought Splinter Sin was the best Modern ever. Faithless Looting, I remember the casting Faithless Looting, enabling my dredge decks or whatever, my Mox Opal decks, you got the artifacts in there, these cards all died for a lot of sort of Modern Horizon sins. So like Modern lost its identity for Modern Horizon sins. What this is doing now is bringing that nostalgia back and bringing that identity back to Modern. And I think they identified this within the actual BNR. So if you read the actual the text itself, it all breaks down to 2 points. One is where the modern meta was, which was like Ring. People were fed up of Ring. People were fed up of Boros Energy. People were, it was a real stale format. There wasn't interesting. There was no interest in play patterns with the Ring. It made all decisions before the Ring was resolved, null and void, etc. But then they also identified the nostalgia factor, the what people remember of Modern, what brings them back into Modern, and and the cards that were banned in the time because they were probably a little bit too much at the time. But Wizards have identified now that yes, We've got new sets coming out. Yes, the power creep has happened. They're almost acknowledging the power creep. It has happened, and we've got answers to these cards. So your Splinter Twins that you can't tap out on turn 3 anymore in case you get got. Guess what, buddy? You've got ample amounts of free interaction. You've got Force Negation. You've got Flare of Denials.
Force of Vigor.
Force of Vigors. You've got all this sort of stuff that can interact within Modern now that you couldn't back in 2016. I think these unbans, mate, will be absorbed into the format very, very nicely. I believe anyway.
I think so as well, and that's exactly what we're gonna try and discuss a little bit as well. As you can see, I've popped on screen. I have a Splinter Twin, Green Sun Zenith, Mox Opal, and Faithless Looting all in front of us here. We'll discuss it one by one, how we think it's going to impact the meta, what might actually change, what might actually happen, and just so you guys can read along with us what each card does in case you don't know what it does. It's gonna be on screen as well. And I think we better.
Before we do that, though, can we just talk about the fact that they didn't actually mention any change to the BNR philosophy?
Yes, I think that's a great thing to touch on. If anyone's seen Aspiring Spike in his video where he spoke about how he thinks that the bannings should change for Modern to keep the format healthy, I think I fully agree. Where, yes, having these bannings occur at certain dedicated times is nice and all, and there's some positives to it. There would be a lot more gained if we were to make the bans happen as and when needed instead of waiting around for something to happen, if that makes sense. For example, it feels a little bad if a card is taking over the metagame, like the One Ring was, or like Boros Energy was as a deck, and then nothing's changed for ages. Or Nadu, right? Nothing was changed for ages because they were sticking to their rigorous schedule of this is when it's going to happen, period. I can understand it. I understand having the want for your players to feel safe about their cards, for the want of your players to not have to fear a ban. But at the same time, it's not appropriate if your format is dying because of it. It's just too much. And this is where I think that kind of communication barrier, that kind of issue has been broken. Because as much as we can fear that, I think keeping format health in mind is much more important. And they made no mention of it. They made no mention of changing anything, or that this is why they're sticking to their guns. They didn't acknowledge it, from what I saw, at least in the BNR, which I can understand. But I personally wish it would have changed.
Yes. I think not being able to answer emergency bans or answer like really problematic metas is a problem in itself. I do acknowledge, and I believe they acknowledge through the language that they displayed in this BNR, that they identify how important Modern is for Wizards of the Coast, for the player base. It's almost their flagship format now, and if that flagship format is ruined, then there's a lot of people who invest a lot of money into that format. There's a lot of high stakes tournaments happen with that format. There's a lot of real. People struggle to let go of Modern as a format, even with all the changes that have happened with the Modern Horizons sort of nonsense that have happened with it. People like myself and yourself, Louise, like we really have this kindred fire for Modern. It's a format that we can just never let go of, and I do think that Wizards have acknowledged the importance of the Modern player base and the importance that the Modern format has for the game, for the financial I guess incentives of Wizards of the Coast, moving product, etc., but also the enjoyment of the game itself and what people come to play the game for. I would have liked to see a change to the way they approach BNRs. I think that a poor Modern meta is not worth the scheduled ban announcements.
Yeah,
in my opinion.
And I mean, there's nothing wrong with keeping the scheduled announcements as well, but at least acknowledge that you're willing to make an emergency errata or change if something is required, right? Because let's say one of these cards that they just unbanned becomes completely unstable and broken. Faithless Looting and Opal definitely have the highest factors of doing something like that. I would like them to be open to saying, we messed up, this needs an emergency change, let's do it now, instead of waiting all the way until March, I think is the next one. Yeah. So those kind of things are a little dangerous. Maybe playing with fire a little bit. Hopefully, I'm wrong and nothing like that will happen. But I think it would have been wise, at least, to keep that door open instead of not make a mention of it.
I tell you what, mate. People who go on the RC and Lille have got the work cut out to them. Is it Lille is modern, right?
Prague.
Prague. Sorry, Prague is modern. The work is cut out for them for that tournament.
Yeah.
Like that's wide open. Like if I was you or George or whoever, the rest of the team who qualified, I'd be like pulling my hair. Like, what am I playing? Like, honestly,
I don't have enough of it left. Oh boy.
I have an idea what I would play, which we could talk about later. But for now, shall we go into each individual card and what we expect the shell to look like for that card?
Yeah. We're not going to put a whole list up. It's just we're going to talk generically about what's going on and also its impact that we actually expected to have in Modern, right? So we're going to start off with an old but gold favorite, most memed about card for unbanning ever, Splinter Twin. This is a card that has touched many hearts. It's a beloved card from people that were playing back in 2015, 2016 era.
Yeah.
It was really, really well liked. However, nowadays, while it has its strengths and it can be a little scary, it has a bit of issue. I remember seeing a lot of unbanned kind of discussion with it. I think Spike and was it Dingo? Like a few people that made a few different videos on playing this card and how it would look like if it actually existed in the current meta. And in old videos, it was a bit strong or a bit annoying or not worth it. Nowadays, it's probably a bit weak, especially since MH3 rolled around.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't expect this card to be great or fantastic. It'll still be a fun card. I think it'll be a tier 3, maybe tier 2 deck. I don't expect it to be tier 1. Quite simply put.
I think it'll be a meme. Honestly, personally, I think it'll be a meme. I think it'll be like it'll get people, but in a world full of solitudes, in a world full of force negations, in a world full of flare denials, in a world full of force of vigors, like in a world full of, I guess as well, you could actually stifle the loop with consign to memory. Those sort of cards in the format right now, like it'd be very hard to get this off. I mean, Heliod combo is a thing in Modern that isn't very well played. It's like tier 3, tier 2 best, and that is can be a turn 3 infinite life gain deck essentially, and that is again too slow for this format because there's answers to it. This is just essentially a bit of a meme, I think, but I think it's playably enough to satisfy nostalgia and satisfy that 2015, 2016 magic where Splinter Twin was actually in a really healthy Modern format and it just checked the format.
Yeah. We could very well be wrong. Maybe it's better than we're giving it credit for, because while we have a lot of instant speed, free hate, they also get some protection off of it. Flare of Denial is still a card that can be used to protect. The shell I was thinking of was going to be something using Tameo, Thundertrap Trainer, kind of like Belcher does, right? They have some blue creatures. Leading into Flare of Denial, holding up when you go for Exarch on turn 3, untap Splinter Twin, and you have protection. Yep. Something like that. It's possible. Or you could even play Vexing Bauble in your deck, and now you can protect yourself from free spells in that way, but then you don't have access to free spells yourself. So there's a bit of a twofold way you can go in that kind of angle. There's you can build it with an Urza Saga style plan, or you can build it with a Harbinger or Blood Moon style effect as well to hate out in that way and then do the combo. There's quite a few little shells that I'm sure people have more thing going on with it.
So those who don't know, the combo is this. The combo is you turn 3, you flash in Deceiver Exarch, which is a 1/4 creature with flash. It is 2 and a blue. When Deceiver Exarch enters the battlefield, choose one. Untap target permanent you control, or tap a target permanent opponent control. So what you do is you flash this in their turn. You would tap one of their lands or something. You'd untap and then you Splinter Twin, which is a 2 red and 2. An enchantment aura. You enchant creature. This creature has tap it. Put a token that's a copy of this creature onto the battlefield. That token has haste, exile at the beginning of the next end step. So what you would do is you would put this on Deceiver Exarch, you would tap it, you would make another Deceiver Exarch, you'd untap the original one, and then you'd make a bazillion Deceiver Exarch, and you attack for a billion 1/4s.
I put on screen for you guys just so you have it, even though I can't spell.
So what you've also got in this format is you've got Stern Scolding. It's another 1 mana answer to this. There are potentially other cards you could probably put on Splinter Twin. I know Kiki Jiki tried to do similar stuff, which never really
got off the ground.
Never really got off the ground. But you can also do it with a Pestamite as well. Has a similar effect. So it's a 2/1 creature, 2 and a blue, with flash and flying. When Pestamite enters the battlefield, you may untap target permanent. It does exactly the same job as the Deceiver Exarch. But again, Stern's Golden, fatal a fatal push off with Exalted, etc. With Revolt would answer this. There's so many answers in Modern. I do think it is a combo that you could put into a fair shell with a fair backup plan with that Splinter Twin in there. A bit the way a Team Rotters is playing at the moment in Standard. You could put it in a fair sort of blue-black, even maybe a Teamer shell if you want to put green in there for some cards.
Veil of Summer.
Veil of Summer for something like that. Yeah, you could do. But that's where I see it. I see it as a firmly tier 2.
Yeah, I mean, because there's some interesting new combos. Things like Fear of Missing Out. Our good friend Christian was telling us Fear of Missing Out. Great card, fantastic card. It technically goes infinite with Splinter Twin as well if you have Delirium. So there's another way. There's a few different ways to use it. There is no known shell just yet because obviously the unbans are very fresh, but people are going to be trying out a lot of things. It's just when I think of the card and I think of the power level of Modern and what's going on in Modern, a 4-mana tap out sorcery speed enchantment is not what I think is really going to break it. We had the One Ring, which is 4-mana tap out artifact, but that came with protection, an extra card draw, 2 extra card draws next turn. There's a lot behind it. This is it
didn't require a setup, and with this as well. If I turn, you could hold off the combo, but then again, if you're on a slow Durdley deck and you're waiting turn 4, 5, 6, or 7 against the fast format like Modern, to do this, you're probably a bit too slow.
Because this has deck building restrictions, right? You have to have some sort of amount of protection. You have to run cards like Deceiver Exarch, which in a vacuum are pretty awful. They're not good cards. So there's a lot behind it that you have to take into account when deciding to put a card like this in your deck. Great, fun card, though. I'm really happy to see it. Glad that we can finally get past that meme of Unbanned Splinter Twin. And I'm excited to see what it does. I'm happy to be wrong as well. It'd be really cool to see Splinter Twin be really, really good again. But we'll have to see what happens with it. I, for one, definitely don't expect it to be tier 1.
No, I don't either.
Then we have the 3 remaining unbanned cards are a bit more powerful. I think they do a lot more. We're going to start out with what we believe is the weakest of the 3, which is Green Sun Zenith.
Yep.
Fantastic card. Legacy All-Star. Sees tons of play there because there's a lot more busted things to grab. You don't have that same repertoire in Modern as you do in Legacy. You don't have your Allosaurus Shepherds. You have Dryad Arbor, but you don't have the extra package to go with it. It does do a lot of things with elves. There's a lot of reprints that have happened. It does have some interesting little things, that it can do at the higher levels of mana. The scariest one for me is consistency of Amulet Titan. Grabbing Primeval Titan or Dryad of the Elysian Grove, Azusa, those kind of things, or even the newer pieces like Lumra or the Analyst. So very consistent in that. Lets you run more one-of specialist cards if you need them. However, I am not so sure this card is going to be absolutely bonkers. I think Amulet Titan is the only deck I'm really afraid of using this card right now. I don't have the most experience with the card myself. Josh, you have a bit more. What do you think about it?
So I think Elves has got a massive buff here because they can get into the Greater Hoof sort of combo. This is not enabling anything fun, right? I think in a fur package, and say for example, like
Cradle Control, like in Legacy,
Yawgmoth, like Yawgmoth, anything like that. Like this card is just potentially worse than the Convoke one, because even though this can get what was the Convoke card called out of Grist?
Grist. Sorry, which one for Yawgmoth?
3.
It was.
Why are you finding that out for me? With what this card does in what
Court of
this
Calling.
card does, Court of Calling. So what this card does and what Court of Calling what Coda Calling does and what this card doesn't is that Coda Calling can get any of your creatures, where this card is only limited to green. That means it can get your Grists and it can get your Great Hoofs, but it can't get your Yawgmoths, it can't get your Zulport Cutthroats, it can't get your Baskin Brood-Scales, which is mentioned in the in this BNR. So it can't get any of those broken sort of combo
non-green
pieces
cards
out of the black green list. However, it can have text. You've got reprints. You've got Silver Safekeeper in the format now. You've got Wirewort Symbiotes in the format now. Drydarb has always been there. So I think Elves is a real potential like combo deck now. But my concern, and Titan always avoids the spotlight because it's hard to play. This card is like the 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th tutor in that deck. Like,
yeah, it's an easy way to find Titan for a single extra mana, right? That's what it does.
But not only that, like Dryad as well of the Elysian Grove, you can get that. Like,
yeah, and that's the scariest part of this card for me. This is what they have to keep their eye on the most. I think Amulet Titan is the deck to really, really, really focus on when you unban a card like this. However, I am excited to see what it can do in a more fair shell. While Modern doesn't have the same level of cool cards that it can work with, something like White of the Reliquary that got printed in MH3, that is an all-star in Legacy in the Cradle Control decks, I think is really cool. I really hope it does something. I don't expect it to, but it would be great. I think that'd be amazing. In your black-green, The Rock style lists. I'll just pull it up for you guys so you can see it.
My fear with this card is that it's not going to see much play because the ceiling is basically a big combo move. But I'm also scared that it's going to make like you're only doing unfair stuff. I'm not sure how good these fair decks like the White Reliquary decks are in the current modern meta.
Because it's still a decent card. It can grab some good 1-drops. You have Delighted Halfling, any of your ignoble or noble creatures, they're all right. There's some interesting things. I just don't think it's the biggest of impacts for the fair decks. It is definitely a combo piece in my eyes. Happy to be wrong, but we'll have to wait and see, right? And this is I think what
it's a tutor. It's a tutor card, mate. You're tutoring for the thing you need to win the game. That's what it's for.
Yeah, exactly. Then we have the 2 more busted cards. We're going to start out with Mox Opal. It's a Metalcraft artifact. Add 1 mana of any color. Activate this ability if you control 3 or more artifacts. That's what it does. It's a Mox, right? It makes mana rock at 0. It costs nothing to play. And all you have to do is have 3 total artifacts, including itself, to activate it, which is relatively easy. Your land can be an artifact. Mm-hmm. You can have a Mishra's Bauble. You can have some other 0-drop style artifact. There's quite a few different ways to activate it. This is a card that got banned. Yeah, exactly. And this is a card that got banned because of Urza. Was it Urza?
High Artificer or High Lord Artificer or something?
There he is. Lord High Artificer.
Yeah. So this is another card that died for the sins of Modern Horizons. Not Urza, I mean Mox Opal.
Yeah.
Like with Faithless Loon.
Yeah. Urza is a very, very, very powerful card if you have the right tools to enable it, right? It hasn't seen a lot of play lately. It still sees some because the card is just good. Mox Opal with Urza is very scary. I remember the days of old, you'd have something like turn 1, artifact land, Mox Opal, and a random 0-mana artifact. You had tons to choose from. You would then play a mana rock on turn 2 of some sort. Then on turn 3, you have Urza plus counterspell backup. Mm-hmm. It was Mana Leak back in those days, I think it was. Or if you had something like, what's the one that has Sunburst and gives you two charge counters on it? Whatever that one is. With that card, you could even have Cryptic, like a card that, a Cryptic command that you haven't seen in ages, back up Urza. It was scary. It was very good. And Urza was scary because you had an infinite combo that you could do with it, with a Thopter Sword. Cards that are still legal, still playable, and still see play in the Urza decks.
Yeah.
Mox Opal ramping these things out is scary, is very frightening. And now you have a lot better things behind it. There's been a lot more artifacts printed, a lot more powerful cards printed. Things like Kappa Cannoneer have been printed that make Mox Opal a lot stronger as well. So it's very scary to see what's going to happen. But we have the hate cards to go with it.
So the way I see the Mox Opal decks being built is either the really fast affinity sort of aggro decks. Oh, Metallic Rebuke is also a counter spell that can be played in these decks, by the way. So you've got the really aggressive sort of linear aggro, purely aggressive Kappa Cannoneer, play all your affinity creatures aggro deck, which is quite scary. It can be quite fast. Then you've got your broken combo Urza decks that we just spoke about. You know, your Thopter Swords and all that good stuff, or your Thopter combo, whatever it is. Or your broken stuff with Urza Saga. You've got Khan as well in the format, all that sort of good stuff. And then you've got the sort of scales, the hardened scales decks as well. The hardened scales decks, this is a massive boost for them because they've not really seen any play at the moment. I'm not sure why. I think it's because of probably Wrath of the Skies is a really good answer.
Wrath of the Skies, Meltdown, those style of decks or cards.
So you've got those, and plus they're quite hard to play. So this is a massive boost to them. I think they needed it. I think it's something that I'm not really worried about the other affinity stuff, other than potentially what could happen with Urza. But I do think there's answers in the format for them. You know, Kappa Cannoneer is a very powerful card. Actually, that'd be one I'd be worried about as well. But again, it gets answered with even cards that still modern, like Hercules Recall and stuff. You know, all that sort of stuff gets answered through the artifacts. You know, Meltdowns, etc. Force negations might see more play. You know,
Supreme Verdict, a good old Wrath.
Supreme Verdict, Wrath of the Skies I mentioned before. Excellent.
Yeah, that's an excellent
these
one,
decks. So that's where I see sort of Mox Opal being.
Yeah. But something to keep in mind is Mox Opal isn't only just an artifact kind of busted card. It's also a card that's been used in a lot of decks as I'm going to make random mana that is really good in my deck to win. Think of things like Cheerios, where they would play 1,000,000,001 0-drop artifacts along with something like what are they called? The creatures that whenever you play an artifact or an equipment or whatever, you draw a card. Yeah, you have like a Pure Steel Paladin or what's his name? Something with an S. I can't remember. It's a white card. They do this kind of effect where play an artifact, play an equipment artifact, draw a card. They would go through their entire deck. They would use opals to make a little bit of mana of whatever color they need, and then they either win with Thassa's Oracle or they win with blasting you for 1,000,000,000 with Grape Shot. They kind of storm off in that way. Those decks are back online because they were missing Mox Opal to make them that mana that was very much needed for the deck to function. Same thing when it comes to something like Ad Nauseam piles.
Yeah,
they used to use Mox Opal it's a Simian Spirit Guide. One of the two ways to make it was using these cards to make 3 red mana to then lightning storm you. Or my least favorite of them all, because it just kind of gets you, is the Allosaurus Shepherd combo deck that would just get you from nowhere, right? You would play Allosaurus Shepherd, I can't remember the name of the card. It was a Simic card that you would use on Allosaurus Shepherd and would let you tutor a Gristlebrand, draw...
Oh, it's... one second, I know that card.
Draw 1,000,000,000 cards.
I apologize, by the way, people who don't know the name of the cards, because this pod, we are fresh. We literally read the Banny BNR and we've started recording. This is the podcast you're in. So that's the podcast you're in. This is as raw as it gets for us.
And it was just get you, right? These combo decks are all enabled once again, which I know there's a lot of combo players out there. They will be so happy. They love their decks. They love this is what happens. A lot of us that are not so happy because we hate that kind of style of play. But I think it's fine. I think we have more than enough in the meta to answer these things, but that is what Mox Opal brings us. It brings us more ways to cause combos to just get you, because now we can generate mana in ways that normally they can't.
Traditionally, though, fast mana in Modern was a problem. That's why, Simian Spirit Guide was banned, etc. Because, turbo and out Blood Moons, turbo and out Lock Pieces wasn't really seen as a good thing in Modern. mean, Mox Opal does sort of fill in that bracket, and it was banned for the mana acceleration, etc. But the fact it was an artifact as well helps towards the constructs, helps towards Urza's game plan, helps with Urza Sagas, etc. And then obviously turboed out the Affinity plan.
Yep.
But like I said, I do think Modern's ready for it to be.
And
back,
watch out, guys! Don't get caught out by turn 2 Harbinger because of this card. Harbinger of the Seas is gonna get you, and you're not gonna be ready for it. Yep. Be very careful.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have our absolute favorite, our absolute, the baby for me. It's my favorite card for these of old. Faithless Looting. You start off with this one, Josh. You talk our ear off.
The reason I guess we've naturally put into a list of least powerful to powerful through talking this, and I guess the reason we put this as the last most powerful thing is because this is not card advantage. If you read this card, it's not card advantage. You are spending 3 cards to get 2. You discard and you're casting the card itself. You are drawing 2 cards and you're discarding 2 cards. So it's essentially 3 for 2 in yourself. However, where this comes into where this shines is the fact that it is one of the best enablers in the game that has ever seen. Like you look at Legacy with Reanimator, you look at Days of Old with Dredge in Modern, Hogak, you do see it in some fair decks, but there's always a payoff to this, and the payoff is usually out the graveyard. That's where the card advantage of this card is. So my point on that is that this card, if it's good, it's very, very good.
Yeah.
Very good.
It's a Bazaar of Baghdad one-shot effect, which that can just lead to the most insane kind of plays ever. It's ridiculous.
The fact you draw the cards before, because usually these effects, these like not looting effects, but these discard effects, usually you discard a card and then draw 1, or you discard 2 and then draw 1. But this fact that you draw the 2 first, then you have agency on which you pick out of those additional cards. So you could be digging for a combo piece, or you could already have a combo piece in your hand. It doesn't really matter. And then you could even use it as a cantrip to then flash it back to then enable the broken thing you're doing. But this, like I said, this card, when it shines, it's doing something naughty.
Exactly.
And
I mean,
that's why it's
for me, right? It's Arclight Phoenix, Hollow One. Those were my cards to use it with. Vengevine is much more played and doing a lot more now. But those are just old cards, right? Now think of the newer cards we've seen. You have things like Archon being really good, especially with a card like Persist, right?
Yep.
This is Archon of Cruelty. Anyone's forgotten him because I know he's seen a little less play in Modern.
So black red Reanimators potentially deck now in Modern.
Yeah, you can play maybe even Grixis Reanimator, where you go, you have your frog, you have the usual thing that Legacy's doing, but you go Faithless Looting, pitch this thing, or pitch whatever, or use frog to pitch it, reanimate whatever you pitch with
Grixis Scorious Vengeance, mate.
Exactly. There's so much going on, right? Yeah, you can pitch your Atraxas a lot easier. You can pitch your Abort Oculus is a lot easier, as we were talking about, because we're looking at making a Grixis frog pile of some sort. We don't change. We always play the same things. It's just there's so much that this card enables, and it's all from the graveyard, of course. And don't get me wrong, there is a lot of very strong graveyard hate that didn't exist back in the day. Things like Sanctifier on Vec, which has definitely changed the game a lot. And while that card hasn't seen a lot of play recently, you better dust it off. It's going to be seeing tons of play now. Prepare your Leyland of the Voids, prepare your surgical extractions, whatever's going on. You have to be ready, so ready for all this stuff. Same thing with like when we were talking about Mox Opal, right? Meltdowns, all these cards are a lot better now. All these hate cards that got printed, they're very good against these cards that got unbanned. I never expected to see Faithless Looting unbanned again. I thought the card was too powerful, but I'm so ready to make it happen.
Yeah.
And
I'm literally going to. I've got my box of pauper stuff over there. I'm going to go in there. I'm going to dig out 4 Faithless Lootings. I'm going to put them on my desk, and they're going to stay there until I use them. So this will be the deck. This will be the card I'll be looking at playing. Dredge. Can Dredge be a thing again? Potentially. I mean, Dredge has got a massive. Dredge has always been a bit of a fringe deck. It was really powerful. I played that deck for years. It's just bringing up this nostalgia that's coming back, through these through these unbans is just absolutely fantastic, and I think this is a massively positive move for Wizards. Even my local play group, who are now focusing on 1v1 commander, are now thinking, oh, maybe we should play modern again. And I'm like, oh my god, yes.
Because with everything going on here, there's a lot of winners, right? So many winners.
Mm-hmm.
Well, some of the biggest ones, right, to me are Bowmasters. Bowmaster wins a lot because Faithless Looting exists. Now you have to be very careful of when you use your Faithless Looting. Getting 2 pings is not a small thing, and it can definitely throw you for a loop if you're not careful with it. We spoke about Urza, Arcbound Ravager from the Hardened Scales style of builds, Arclight Phoenix, Primeval Titan, Dryad Arbor, and the Dryad of Elysian Grove. Tameo, very interesting.
Yes,
Faithless Looting.
Tameo with Faithless Looting, that's just like instant flip. Faithless Looting flips Tameo. You untap, you draw a card, you play Faithless Looting, you flip Tameo. Like, boom.
Think of this play pattern. Turn 1, attack with Tameo. Right, sorry, play Tameo. Turn 2, attack with Tameo, play a land, Faithless Looting, you pitch an Abhorrent Oculus, you flip your Tameo, you unearth your Oculus. That's not... that can just happen.
Yep.
That's pretty strong, right? That's crazy.
Yep. Grafdigger's Cage is better.
Grafdigger's Cage is a lot better. It answers the tutorable things from Green Suns. It answers the graveyard shenanigans, or most of them, not all of them, from Faithless Looting and that kind of thing.
Meltdown. Mate, you know what's better right now? Spell Pierce. Spell Pierce answers every one of these cards.
Exactly. Spell Pierce is a great hit for all these non-creature spells.
Force Negation. Mate, I think if I'm looking at Frogless now, I'm packing 4 Force Negations for baseline.
So. I think you have to. You have to. Urza Saga, big winner, right? Mox Opal, just artifact decks generally. Asmo, a card we haven't seen or done a lot with in ages. Think about it. You have Faithless Looting and Mox Opal in your Asmo deck.
I hate it because I was a Team of Rhinos player up until the ban of Violent Outburst, and mate, that Asmo deck wrecked Rhinos, wrecked it.
Read it for us, Josh. What does it say? What's the card name? Go ahead.
Okay, I'm going to try this because I cannot read, so I'm going to do this for pure entertainment value and the cringe factor. So here we go. Asmo Ranomarticadestinacula da cara.
We love it, Josh.
Go on, you do it. You go on, you do it.
Asmo Ranomartica Destinacula.
Just start again. Do it in Italian voice. Italian
no, I'm not doing that.
Do it. Make Marco proud.
Tell you what, we'll get Marco to come and say it on stream. No problem. We'll do it. We'll do it that way.
He'd say it beautifully, I reckon.
100%.
Like you.
But this card, right?
You're like a fake Italian.
Yeah. At least I can speak English, Josh. So this card gets way better. You get to do things like turn 1. You play your Mox Opal plus a cookbook. Discard a card that makes an artifact. Boom, that's 3 artifacts. Now you have an extra mana because you discarded something. That's Asmo. Asmo goes and gets another cookbook. Fantastic. Or you just go turn 2, Faithless Looting, player Asmo, get a thing. There's so much going on, right? There's so much going on. There's quite a few ways to make this happen. Fantastic card, big winner. Colossus Hammer. Is Hammer back on the table?
Hammer time, mate.
Exactly. I mean, we have Mox Opal, speeds it up. We have the One Ring gone from giving protection and all that kind of stuff. It just gets faster, gets stronger.
These unbans are just bringing decks that so MH was a massive problem, right? Decks just died. Like decks before MH2, you had Hammer Time, Hardened Scales, like proper in like decks that were in the format. A set comes out and they're just gone, nowhere to be seen. Like this unban is bringing all that stuff back. Like it's sending like our brains now are like sparking like the northern lights. Like there's so much going on. So it makes me think that these decks that were banned back in the day, so before MH and Splinter Twins, I know Faithless Looting and all them were banned because of Modern Horizons. But Green Sun Zenith was banned I think 2011, I believe.
Yeah, 2011.
So could this be an argument that MH is actually could be used as a tool for good because it's providing the answers to unban old decks and cards, basically. Like,
Honestly,
is that the good out of Modern Horizons? Like,
I think so. Because I think it allows them to play a lot more with unbanning a lot of things. You think of cards like Umazawa's Jite or Birthing Pod, all these kind of cards. Like, they're not the problems they used to be. I am always on the keep Jite banned kind of train, because I think when that card is great, it's just unbearable. And when it's not good, it's unplayable. So I don't think I care about the card.
Kind of like Underworld. Is it Underworld Breach? The one that was banned out of Hogak.
Oh no, Bridge from Below.
Bridge from Below, yeah. So sort of a bit like card like that. So when it's good, it's broken, but when it's bad, it's unplayable. Exactly. Like those sort of cards are very unhealthy, and they should stay banned.
Yeah, exactly. You just don't need them. But things like Punishing Fire, maybe it's fine. Yeah, maybe it's completely reasonable. Maybe it's a bit boring, but
if Punishing Fire and Fury was in the last modern format before this BNR,
energy would have been a lot less of a problem. That's for sure.
Would anyone complain?
So it's very interesting to me. I'm really happy they're taking the step at unbanning cards. It's something that I think a lot of the old modern players have really wanted for a long time. And a lot of the new modern players can now enjoy. There's so many cool cards. You guys, I can't wait to see a new modern player come down and see the absolute just crazy BS that happens from Faithless Looting.
When was the last time they had a BNR where there was more unbans than bans? I actually can't remember one.
Was the Jace and was it Bloodbraid Elf when those two got unbanned, or
they just unbanned two? Did they? Or I know Jace and there was one out of Legacy that got unbanned. I forget the name of the card.
There's also the Stoneforge Mystic unban.
Yeah.
It's got a few things.
Surely, like, wasn't like 4 unbanned cards in a format, like 4, like these were like meta staple cards in modern.
It's just crazy. Yeah, because it was
I'm so excited.
And Jace and
I think so. What we're going to do, I think, moving forward from this pod, what we'll do is, so in about a week's time, we'll look at the meta, because we would have played with. I've got a week off this week, so I'm going to be playing some Magic. So we'll look into the meta, and then we'll get like a top 5 list or something, or do a meta analysis in the modern meta game, etc. To sort of follow on from this pod, because this is very like I said, this is very like, Luis, oh my god, it's here. No.
Yeah, I think over the next 2-3 weeks we'll definitely try and do like this is what's happening in the modern meta game. This is what needs to be watched, what's changing, what's swinging, because it's going to take a while for things to settle. This is a lot of unbans, a lot of cards to be played with, a lot of new interactions that people will not have seen before, and there's just so much to dig down into that I think we definitely want to make these videos come out, every week, each Monday, maybe each Tuesday, where we'll have these things come out, talk about the metagame, how it sits, where it's at, and what we expect to keep going on. We'll keep everyone informed on that, especially with Prague around the corner in January. You have to be ready.
The team is going to be working. I mean, the Chad Magic team is going to be working on modern now, particularly like we've got some really innovative brewers. So we've got George Mostyn. He's a really innovative brewer, particularly the fact that he doesn't play Magic Online. He does really well. He's a paper truther. Yourself, Luis, you're always looking at like little trinkets and cards and that to play around with, and I'm always there to tell you what the hell you're playing that for. But but yeah, we'll basically report back, is what I'm saying, post this pod. Yeah.
And I'm definitely excited to make some Grixis control pile come out of this stuff as well. I'm excited.
I like Grixis, but if I can get blue black to potentially work still, but I think we need another color. My fear is that we're going to be very weak to. We could talk about this in another pod, but my fear is we're going to be very weak to sort of the land base. The land base looks very weak. And the removal doesn't back up the protection against Harbinger, for example. I mean, I play Harbinger main board at the moment, or I did do before. I need to completely throw my deck on its head and have a look at it again. But
yeah, it's if
I'm not casting Fatal Suiting somewhere, then there's something's going wrong.
Yeah, and be very careful, guys. Very, very. Just pay attention to your sideboards. Don't throw away every card that used to be played. I know that you've seen maybe some lists out there where people are just dropping consign to memory entirely. I think that's wrong. I think you have to be careful. There's a lot going on. You definitely need Graveyard Hate. You need Artifact Hate. You need generic on the stack hate. So be very careful what's going on. Keep your eyes peeled for what we're bringing on next. Because this is probably one of the best things that's ever happened to Modern in a long time.
I always say as well that if you're unsure of what to do and like there's a big meta shift and you're unsure what to do, your deck is probably still viable.
Yeah.
Like unless it was banned outright, your deck is probably still viable. Like Boros Energy is still very viable. Like that deck it's still got Ajani and it's still got Goblin Bombardment. Like that deck can still slap. If you're struggling with like, oh my god, the meta's shifted on its head, just send your deck into a league and see what happens, and then make your adjustments. The most important thing when going into a new meta is have a baseline. Either you're doing the new thing at a baseline, or or you don't know what you're doing, and you take your previous deck into that as the baseline. Find a baseline. This is the right like decks like Burn and linear strategy decks are really shine at the moment because they just do the one stupid thing until the meta settles, and then that stupid thing becomes less good.
Yeah,
answered. Yeah. So find a baseline, go into the go into that format, and then using informed decisions on what you experience in that format to then change your deck around and answer. We're doing that with Standard right now, aren't we, Luis? We're looking at our baseline is sort of changed a little bit within Standard. So yeah, we're actually working on that. But now this is
this is gonna take over my life, man.
Standard is fantastic, but everyone wants a modern deck.
Yeah, absolutely.
Everyone wants like a modern deck that's solved, like it's done.
Just so exciting.
I'm happy, Luis. Are you happy?
I'm very happy, guys. Thank you for everyone who stayed with us for up to this point. I know. Sorry for the chaos of watching me misspell words on screen and.
Oh, who cares? You can't. If you're listening to it, you can't see it.
And I'm happy that you've joined us for this.
Be excited! This is amazing. This is
so
amazing. Good.
It's one of the greatest things. I can't wait to see all the random BS I die to in Modern. And I hope you guys will join us on the next episode of Battle Chaz. Thank you very much for joining us on this one. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Tell your grandmother, your mother, everyone you can about listening to us. And,
my abuela.
See ya on the next one, guys. Take care.
Ciao.